joined you for an ad hoc one right now. I wanted to talk to you about PRODD, which the product team know all about. I can talk about what that acronym means. This is how the product teams or the product managers kind of manage our workload and communicate with all of our stakeholders and that kind of thing. And the reason I wanted to kind of get you guys familiar with it is I think at the moment there's a little bit of a disjoint, if I'm honest, between the kind of engineering backlogs and what you're working on, and the visibility of what you guys are doing isn't always completely joined up with what we're telling the business and what the stakeholders are seeing, etc. So the idea of today is to try and get you guys familiar with that. Potentially opportunities to improve it. You guys might have ideas. This is not kind of prescribed. This is how we're working. We want to make it work with you guys and for you guys as much as it works for us. That's the idea here. So this is a slide that Pete put together. I think it was primarily driven by LV's requirements around the way in which the life cycle of the feature, all around kind of the shift left idea and the kind of principle that stuff doesn't go into build until it's sprint ready, and there's a pros. And so there's a number of steps here that go through before we actually build something, before we get something into engineering. And when you look at that on your current engineering boards, typically there's kind of one column called the backlog that deals with everything all the way through to, okay, right now we're going to move it into in progress. And so a typical engineering board with its Kanban or Scrum or whatever doesn't, whilst you may be able to color code things or tag things or flag things, or you could get some sense in the order, because obviously the nearer the top of the board the backlog is, the nearer it is to here, but we don't kind of get that same visibility. So I'm probably not going to use that slide. So this is exactly how Pete showed it. So there's this backlog, and there are some things that are green because they're ready to go, and then there's some other stuff that we're working on. But this becomes very long and quite hard, and there's a kind of lot of micro detail on here as well as some epics, and it's not that easy to consume as a stakeholder in terms of what's coming and what's ready to go. So what we have for the product team, and this is the kind of the key mechanism that we use to communicate with stakeholders, and this is just a screenshot that I took a long time ago, so I'm really just putting it up to show you the different columns that we use. But essentially what we say is that there are opportunities over here. So these are just ideas, potential problems that customers are having, this kind of thing. So this is our product backlog, is kind of stuff that may not even be on your radar yet. It's out there as problems we're having. And then there's a phase of work which we call discovery, where you've heard us talking about discovery. We're doing discovery on this, we're doing discovery on that, but this is where we show the work that's currently work in progress. And this, if we're doing a good job, this feels a bit like Kanban in the sense that this should probably have a work in progress limit on it, because there's only so much of this that we can be talking to the finance, the fit team, and compliance and marketing. We've got lots and lots of stakeholders who've got to sign these things off and get them into the product backlog. And what I'm suggesting is that when we talk about sprint ready now, and things being, we've agreed that we've shifted it left, we've agreed the acceptance criteria, we know what it is. What we're saying is that it's not in the product backlog, it's not ready for engineering for you guys to put into the next sprint unless we've met those acceptance criteria. So this is the discovery work in progress column, with the objective of moving things into the backlog so that you guys have then got a decent chunk of work waiting to be done. And then, again, from a stakeholder point of view, you guys have got some other things within here, perhaps where it goes through UAT and testing, whatever it does. But again, from a stakeholder point of view, well, actually, no, whether you're delivering it or it's done, it's live. And the stakeholders, they want to know when. If it's here, they want to know when's it going to be there. But the fact that there's a bunch of you've got a bunch of detail on your board, so effectively your engineering board is, well, it's those three, isn't it? But there's rather more detail probably in this column to get things through to delivery. I think potentially, in the way that you potentially would use epics and that kind of thing, potentially these boards could be the epics, because in Jira you can cross-reference stories in one board to epics in another. So potentially these could be the epics as they move through, and the stories behind them could be in your engineering boards. That's a detail that you could work through with the product managers and see what works for you guys. But either way, and at the moment this is created separately and duplicates potentially some of what's in your engineering boards, but it's the way that we communicate and share with the team. So that's what PRODD is: product opportunity discovery and delivery. So that's where that acronym came from. It's a framework that facilitates engineering best practice, because we all know that there does need to be some discipline around this discovery work, around doing some science, developing some evidence that it's the right thing to develop, maybe do some customer research, all of those things. So you give those things a kind of formal place in the workflow. And it highlights this discovery as this distinct activity and the science of that. But it also helps us direct our effort, see what we're doing, share information. So the backlog I've talked about, things are in discovery. While it's in discovery, we might generate new ideas that come back into the backlog. Sometimes we put stuff in discovery, we do a sprint, we do a spike, we do a bit of research, and we say, actually, that's not ready for engineering for a while, but we're not actively working on it now in discovery, so we'll put it back on the backlog. And of course, part of the product manager's role, a big part of the product manager's role, is prioritizing this to say what's going to be next in here. So just as you guys do backlog grooming in terms of what's the right thing to put into delivery, we're doing an opportunity backlog grooming exercise to say what's the next important thing, and get the stakeholders all aligned to do that. Then things are sprint ready, we're ready to commit engineering resources, and then we go into delivery, as you know, and then we might be doing delivery again. I don't want this to become waterfall, so of course delivery is still iterative, and you may, as a result of delivering a small piece, discover something that needs to go back on the backlog, or maybe even needs to go back over here because you, as part of delivering it, you decide to kind of change the scope. So this does need to kind of respond to what's going on in the real world. And then it's live and it's shipped is really what I'd like to see. So I think that was my pitch. I've got various other. This provides. I think the idea that we have work in progress limits here, this provides very good management visibility around, what are we focusing on. It means that everyone knows what's in discovery right now as well as what's in delivery. I think, there's an engineering role in the discovery piece, because you guys are, part of discovery is what's the feasibility, what's the best way to build it, what is the solution. So I don't want, this isn't the product team gets it to this point and then the engineering gets it from here to there. This is all of us involved in all of this. Any questions?
Who can add items to the opportunity backlog?
At the moment, the product owners themselves are the only ones doing that. I think we could. So we're putting a filter on not just letting the business pile stuff in there, because we're trying to put some discipline around describing things there in a reasonably disciplined way. We want it to be the problem, not the solution, for instance, things like that, so that we're not getting people saying, I want this new feature. It's like, I want to solve this problem. So at the moment, it's the product team that puts stuff on there. I don't think it's locked down in Jira. I think anyone could put something on there.
But there's a lot of back and forth going on, isn't it? And that you're encouraging between engineering and the product team, so that if people other than the product owner want to add stuff, then we can always go and lobby the product owners to take that idea on board.
Yeah, I think. So one suggestion is that, because I think your natural tendency right now, if you guys had an idea, you'd just stick it in your backlog. That means that we haven't got a mechanism right now to then invite the stakeholders to comment on that, have a view, prioritise it, decide what to do with it. So I think there is there is possibility that the engineering board really focuses on delivering the stuff that's been agreed to be delivered, and that the opportunities that you guys see to do something in the future, or even sort of technical debt, that you haven't got. If you haven't got stakeholder commitment to do it, then it probably should be surfaced on here if it's anything other than a kind of. If it's not within some maintenance budget that we've agreed that it's fine, do a bit of that while you're doing the sprint. But if it's anything of consequence to the stakeholders and you want some stakeholder buy-in to doing it, then I would suggest work with the product manager and get it onto the opportunity backlog and get it visible, because that's how it will find its way into the sausage machine.
I think things that often hold up things kind of getting into the sausage machine, if you like, is things like designs for web and mobile, scenarios defined, and so on. Are you kind of looking to sort of make those the kind of they have to be defined and done before they move from discovery to
Delivery.
To product backlog? Or
so I think that's for you guys to help us define. I want this to mean sprint ready. Now, if the way you want to develop that is to put it into the sprint and co-create it, then I'm okay with that. But what I don't want is the scenario where the stakeholders think it's ready, we give it to you to do, you do it, we go to move it into delivered, and everyone says, hang on, that's not what I was expecting, I didn't expect it to do that, no, I'm not willing to sign it off, and things get stuck in. I mean, one of the things that this provides me visibility of is, when we've got log jams of stuff queued up behind, until we've got this signed off in UAT, we can't put this, and this live. That becomes quite visible on this board as a kind of oh shit, we've got a blockage there. So I think the key really is, is it sprint ready? Are you guys taking it on knowing that it's going to get all the way to here without failing somewhere through that process?
So does that imply that to be sprint ready, it's got to have very clear acceptance criteria?
That would be that's definitely the direction of travel. That's what we want is to try and get that. I think that's a science that that's a muscle we haven't really developed. I think there's a danger that having the acceptance criteria nailed effectively means we've written the whole specification, and I would suggest we want to try and avoid that. We want to try and get good at what's the minimum definition of acceptance criteria in order to allow us to get on and build it and still have some room to flex and build something that still passes the acceptance criteria, so that this doesn't become specification build. That we have to try and keep it agile.
I presume that means that the grooming session the teams do will be covering kind of the in-discovery and product backlog, because they want to have a visibility of what's coming up and feedback on terms of.
Yeah, exactly. So I would exactly. So what I would hope that you're doing in your sprint planning and backlog grooming is you're looking at this. You might be looking at what's coming, sort of that's nearly ready because you want to start planning for that. But ideally, this would have enough stuff in here that in sprint planning you'll really have we got this in the right order. You might have a view that okay, there are 3 things ready there. Actually, our offer is that one's much easier and quicker to do than those 2, even though you've got it lower down. Would you like us to kind of accelerate that one, or combining those 2 together makes sense, or whatever it does? That's the sort of.
But more in terms of understanding the product that the team's delivering and what's coming up, and also the first time they see it is when it ends up in the backlog.
Yeah.
It might not have the detail that's needed, so it needs to then go back. So I think having some visibility early on the discussion.
Well, so I would encourage you guys to be aware of this whole board on your sprint teams. Maybe I don't know where to build it into your rituals and your cycle, but I would encourage you to at least have some visibility of it and be conscious of it. So that as you say, you can see what's coming. You've got a sense, and actually, frankly, quite often you guys are the ones who are going to see things over here and say, actually, what you guys. Why is that taking so long to get into discovery? I've got a quick solution for that. How about we do this? And then something goes wallop from here to there, and it's sort of, yeah. And actually, informally, there's bits of that going on, right? Louis will go and have a conversation with somebody about he's got a problem, and he may not even have got on here, then it's already done. And I don't mind that. I want that kind of culture. But in terms of getting the stakeholders to have visibility of that, and you don't turn up on Tuesday, show and tell, and show them something, and someone over in the room saying, "I didn't prioritise that. I didn't know that was happening." You know, there's quite a lot of mileage in getting it on here and getting some visibility, even if there's an opportunity to then quickly agree it's a good thing to do and get it done.
What's the single source of truth for the feature? Just because when I've worked previously where things have got cloned off another backlog, you end up with this kind of comments and stuff in two places, and then it's like, yeah, are we saying that sort of once something gets cloned off this into our backlogs, that ticket in the team specific backlog is like the...
I mean, at the moment, these are cards, there's not a lot of detail on them, so we're not working and we're not attaching the specs to these and things like that, typically, are we?
I think so. One thing I'm doing right now, I'd like to move to this is, for example, the Lisa work, which we're just finalising up, I'm writing up in Confluence. And I think if we do that, we can link to it from all the relevant places, but then there is one page where it's all there. I think that's my proposed solution.
You could, for each of your items of the project, you can actually create a subtask, and you can move that task into a different project. You can move that ticket, but you can still get the back reference. So
you can also link arbitrary issues in Jira anyway as well.
You can, but then you still get the problem if you've got two tickets, which is truth.
We're talking about comments and things. Yeah.
Comments and definitions and so on. And so if you've got two tickets, which one is right?
So I think what I'm proposing is was definitions. So you know, why like mock-ups, like business rules, spec work. I'm proposing those definitions. We put those on a Confluence page, and that becomes the one. So then we can link to that from wherever we need to. That's what I'm proposing.
I think that's a good idea. And I think what that also enables you to do is to drag all of the issues that it relates to, or the tickets it relates to, into that Confluence document directly from Jira, just through using a quick macro. And then you do have sort of one hub for the truth, but you know, we can still work on the detail. And
I guess Confluence is a little bit more permanent as well. Jira can be quite transient. Once it's done, you kind of lose that information.
Does that fit in okay with the way in which the DSL works and how it attaches the Jira scenarios?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, it actually lends itself very well to that.
So do we think this can work? Is this? I mean, it is working. I'll tell you, it is working. The stakeholders like it. We stand around we talk about the PRODD board. We stand around the PRODD board. We use it as our weekly status updates, etc. So it's definitely working for us. I think the key here is can we work and be joined up about how you guys interact with this and so.
I've still got one question. Are we saying that all engineering work goes through this board, or are we saying that all product-related engineering work? So if you've got, okay, so it doesn't have to be all engineering. What I mean by that is, say you've got a piece of work or a feature change coming, and you know that the current technology solution that you have won't be able to support that, then typically what you might do is pull something into your next sprint to say, we're going to make a change to our engineering so that we'll be able to support this new product feature.
Yeah, so I think technical debt, refactoring, these kind of invisible change, then definitely doesn't need to be on here. Other than, so for example, we did have a card on here which was the Antares Polaris migration, because there was a stakeholder need to be aware of that was going on. It was relevant to the stakeholders. It was taking capacity that they wanted to spend on other things, etc. Right. So I think if you want it to be visible to the stakeholders, get it on here. But there's not a mandate that says don't do it unless it's on here. That's definitely not a mandate.
We've established a budget, haven't we, for maintenance kind of work, and it's understood that all of the work that we need to do to keep the systems running optimally and to address technical debt all come out of that budget. And I think a major thing that's part of that we haven't discussed is incident resolution and serious defect fixes. So there'll be some things that appear on a screen where it's it's cosmetic, but it will require a little bit of rework. That kind of thing we need to be discussing with the product owner about when we do that, based on how serious it is. But if we consider a defect to be serious, then we need to, that's part of our contract with the product team and with our customers, that we get that kind of stuff fixed as quickly as possible. So that comes out of that budget. All of the product work that's what goes on here, isn't it?
There's a difference, though, isn't there, between technical debt and changing the way something works to support something new.
Yeah, there is.
Because I think it's the visibility question. So this is not for control purposes. This is to give stakeholders visibility of what's going on. So if it's something that the stakeholders don't need to know about, I'm not worried if it's not on here. But if for example it is going to change the user experience, then it would be a good idea to get it on here because Helen and the sales team and those guys are going to see it coming, and when it goes live, they're not going to be going, oh, I didn't know that was changing. I was in a live client demo yesterday, and all of a sudden something new popped up on the screen, and I didn't know about it. I'd like it to be in here, however small and apparently trivial it is. I'd ideally like it to be in here because otherwise, those communication breakdowns is what occurs.
So does this have detail around the actual releases that are coming through there? So I guess that's where, sometimes that's where there is a comms breakdown there. When is this happening? Has this happened? And it seems to become quite decoupled. This is a very strong stakeholder relationship and notification system. Yeah. But the actual delivery of them seems to be kind of rather decoupled from it. So how can we strengthen that?
I'd love you and Matt to work with our guys on how to make that better than it currently is. I think there's I think tying the fact that a release has gone out with the fact that something has moved, the items on here that have moved from here to there, and making that part of the release comms would be a massive enhancement, because I think we haven't quite achieved that yet.
I think certainly, we have discussions often and we say, is that going to go live? When's that going to go live? Oh yeah, I need to ask Matt, we need to figure that out. So if there's somewhere we could make that more, because I guess we have like the detailed list of individual issues and tickets, but it'd be awesome to have as you said, to know roughly what our plans are, to be able to self-serve that somehow, or make it without having to come and have a conversation about it.
I kind of feel we're missing a trick in some ways because, in many ways, the product owner is that pivotal person between this board and development. What's going on? They're the person that's studying.
Trying to bridge the gap.
Yeah, they are the conduit from one to the other. So I kind of feel, if the product owner doesn't know when that's happening, we're perhaps missing something there in the team, perhaps, because as an embedded part of the team, they should really know exactly what's happening. So maybe that's what we need to try and pick up on and find out. Well, why are you having to come to Matt or something to find that out? Really, I'm actually coming to you to find out. So how can we pick up on that bit?
I feel like I have a rough idea of, here's the releases we're doing. Last time I spoke to Louis, we're thinking Thursday for this one, Wednesday, for that one. Yeah. But it is kind of that. At the moment, it's kind of that. It's that rough idea, and I kind of have to put in that. I have to keep that communication open. But as you say, I wonder if we are missing a trick where we could make it. We do it for when we do our releases, we know which Jira tickets go into it. So I wonder if we could just maybe link in the bigger pieces if they're going in as well. Just so we know that clearly.
There's currently one shared board in Jira for all PRODD. So it's easy to find, and then it's got filters on it that filter it by value, conversion, and the retirement wizard one's got nothing in it right now because we haven't converted to that way of working. So if I go board, it's slow, isn't it?
Standby.
It happens to be on the value.
That Wi-Fi goes down the road.
So this is the current live board, and there are filters on here. So this is the PW value filter. So this is basically sim current stuff. So yeah, we know the high interest debt referral is about to go over the line, but actually it would be nice if it had the release on it actually, and it said it's going to go then, or some comms around this. of where things are.
How often will we have things done in a sprint that haven't been delivered to live that we think we can track that progress better? This isn't the idea that we're always delivering to live. So.
The idea is, but I think that the practice is that that's still, we're still, we're not as, things still need a kind of UAT cycle, potentially.
But are we talking like a couple of days of haze around when it goes to, is there much value in tracking that up to the minute? Or?
No. But the where, for example, I think high interest debt has been done from an engineering point for a while now. In that particular case, it was sitting behind the Polaris upgrade, if I'm right in thinking. So yeah, so when those kind of extenuating factors are in play, then there's a kind of the visibility is more. It becomes more tricky. If we're in this mode of stuff, literally 5 releases per sprint, and stuff just goes from here to here, and it's where it's difficult is where things sit, across reporting boundaries. So across the kind of delivery steering on Monday, sprint, show and tell on Tuesday, and it wasn't a kind of clean end to a sprint, and we didn't end up with all the things that we committed to on here. Now that was the other thing I was going to say actually, that from my perspective, it would be really helpful if the in delivery reflected the sprint commitments. So if you say, our commitment this sprint is to deliver this, and we put that in delivery, and whatever the headline is for what you're going to deliver in this sprint. So even if there's a bunch of detail in detailed stories, as a minimum, if we can make sure that the kind of headline sprint commitment is front and centre in here, that would join up, because at the moment I don't think your sprint commitments are particularly visible to the stakeholders. And I'm not saying it's not there in Jira or wherever. I'm just saying it's not, because it's not consciously part of this comms mechanism. It's not so visible. So that would be an idea as well to build on.
Could we just simply have like an email group for releases that we send an email saying this is going out?
Matt does that already.
All right.
But that's the when it's gone.
But like before and after.
It's the when is this going live?
I don't know. We're spending a lot of time talking about this. I'm not quite sure how much of a problem it is. I don't know, just throwing it out there, just as a question.
It's probably something to take offline.
I mean, if you want to come along to the release meetings and stuff like that, then you'll know exactly where we are. But so rather than trying to.
Well, we need to join up those release meetings.
Yeah,
the product, because no, the answer is it is from my perspective at the moment, me and the product stakeholders don't have great visibility of what's going on there. Now, if that's just because I need to get Simran inserted into it, and
I think
Simi
that
and the others,
engagement there proves there's the problem, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's the problem we've got to fix.
But it's not for this group. It's a.
No. I was just exploring how can we fix it easily with stuff we already do.
I think so.
I mean, your point there about it would be great if the release ticket was on there. I think that would actually be a really valuable piece. I don't think it wouldn't be difficult by any means.
So yeah, I've got a question. So you mentioned earlier that you didn't see the production team as the ones to fully define the specifications. So I guess my question is, who would? And also, if not fully define a specification, doesn't that mean there is a risk for the engineering team to maybe interpret the requirements in a different way that the stakeholders have envisioned the end result? And because I feel if there's some spec and discovery work to be done by the engineering team themselves, wouldn't they have to go back to the stakeholders?
Yes, potentially. So a couple of things there. One is that sometimes things in discovery. So if you're going to do an engineering spike, it's not going to lead to a piece of delivery. You're kind of in discovery mode, helping us with something. So we may ask for an engineering spike as part of a discovery activity. That's a valid thing that we could do. I mean, I think the other answer to is a more by agile, and to what extent do we want to give engineers the freedom to kind of make some of these decisions and get them right as long as we meet the acceptance criteria. So I think that's just a matter of building trust and finding the right ways of working in a way that, yeah, I mean, I would probably err towards, if you're in any doubt, make sure you've got a spec that you're happy with before you accept it as sprint ready. But
because I think given a set of requirements, there might be different ways to achieve the requirement, but I'm just thinking, do the stakeholders need to be updated on what we decided would meet those requirements?
yeah, so I think we're perhaps at cross purposes here, because I think a typical in discovery would involve the UX team doing a prototype, or that there would be something. There'd be a reference for what it's going to look like.
So that happens before it's production ready?
Yeah, before it's sprint ready.
Okay. All right.
Typically. But I'm just saying that there may be scenarios where we're not as constrained as that. We just need, for example, yeah, I'm not going to give an example. I'm going to get myself into trouble. I did one the other day and Mark said that was a bad example. No, I'm not going to risk it. Good, we should call it unless there's any other questions. Oh, I got applause. Thank you.